Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Egg Wars. How are you doing? I hope you're all doing well. We're in the beginning of this fantastic first week of October. It's been fucking crazy already, so I hope it hasn't been too crazy for you. Shout out to all my uni students out there. I hope you're not failing yet. If you are, I wish you the best. Hopefully you can, figure something out. Man, it's early for me right now. It's a little earlier than I'm used to. Still the morning hours, but it's not like 2 a.m. It's actually like in the morning and the sun's up and stuff. That's unusual, I guess. I don't know. I guess my sleep is a little more fixed. I was supposed to go to a dentist appointment yesterday about this time, but I was asleep then because I forgot about it. So I'll have to do that sooner than later because I only have insurance for 2 more months, and then I'm fucked if I get sick or need any sort of procedure. That's it for me. But I'll handle that in time. First off, as always, shout out to my dudes, Arto, producer Chris, and Minister Random, my fellow peers in the content creator universe. Let's see here. Make sure you're smashing the motherfucking like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. If you have any certain topics you want me to cover, make sure to leave a comment below. And what else? Some guy, right before I'm filming this, I saw he left a comment on one of the videos. I think it was the third Egg Wars. And he said, man, you need to get off Sam Hyde's dick. He said, go get your own style. You're totally ripping him off. You're mimicking him, and your series rips him off and shit. And I just want to clear the air on that. Obviously, if somebody's tuning in at this point and they didn't watch the first episode, I kind of explained the whole thing. I don't really care, to be honest, because people are enjoying the Egg Wars series. I enjoy the format because I'm a very unstructured person, and I like being able to just ramble and be unstructured and unfiltered. And as far as me copying Sam Hyde's mannerisms, I assure you I have no intention of doing that. I've pretty much acted the way I've acted for a while, although I am a little bit more maybe... I have a little more energy maybe than I used to, because you can go back and watch some of my older videos from 2-3 years ago, and I was a little more reserved maybe because I was still I wasn't used to having this, where I was like streaming and things like that, where I was, interacting and conversating for people. I was kind of used to just being an autist, kind of talking to myself in my car, that sort of thing. So maybe I have kind of opened up a little bit, but I assure you there's no intentional mimicry going on, except for the fact that, yes, I pretty much totally blatantly just fucking... jacked the whole X Wars thing. But in any case, enough of all that. Today, what topic do I want to talk about today? I am going to be talking about something that I was trying to think of what I wanted to talk about, and I decided I'm going to talk about my history with the arts. Now, that sounds super, super gay, but I assure you it's only somewhat gay. So it all goes back to... I would say when I was younger, some of the first instances I can recall. I know yesterday I was talking about this teacher I had when I was in elementary school who was a horrible, horrible bitch, and I hated her guts and all this different stuff. But one good thing about that year in elementary school was that for the first time we really were encouraged to draw. We were given this sort of... I'm not even sure what you'd call it. They just called it like drawing paper, but it was like this sort of smooth, large sheet of paper where we could like have this in sort of like a creative period, of time. I don't remember how they had it back. It's been so many years, but we got some. We had our pens and whatever else, and we could draw. And I loved to draw. In fact, I remember I was supposed to grab something before I started filming this video, but I'll go grab it whenever I get to it. So I was drawing and drawing and drawing, and I was having a great time. When I was young, I used to always draw very graphic, violent imagery, though, which I think was also probably part of the reason why this teacher that I had back in these times really didn't like me very much, and she was kind of really stickling on me, because I remember one drawing in particular was the drawing that got me banned from being able to make drawings, and that was, I remember I drew like a crude version of the Earth. And I had this giant one-eyed monster, and there was a theme with the monsters I drew. Usually they were kind of like, sort of had like a cylinder, I don't know what you call it, maybe oval, whatever type shape, and like one big eye. and they all had this lamprey mouth, because it was very easy for me to draw, because I never had very good drawing skills, and I still don't, and I probably never will, but I could just draw, like, the big mouth in, like, one circle, and, like, draw, like, the little triangle teeth, and then be, like, you know, have people's heads getting, like, you know, ripped off, and then, like, the little, like, blood spray, you know, little driplets and droplets everywhere. That's what I enjoyed drawing, and so that was probably part of the reason why my teacher was not very fond of me. But that was really just the start of it, because I will say, before we go further, also around the same time, the elementary school time, and I can't remember which video, I think it was actually maybe on that that podcast I did the other day, I was discussing how me and some guys, you know, in the elementary school years, we used to use PowerPoint, like the very old version of PowerPoint, and we would make, like, our own little cartoons and comics out of, like, clip art and, like, text and stuff like that. So we'd make, like, our own little comic slides almost, and we would store them on floppy disks and, like, trade them amongst ourselves. So that was something, too, that we sort of did. So that was kind of one of my other initial, you know, artistic expressions that I had out there, was making these little fucking, you know, toilet humor, you know, random sporadic comic violence PowerPoint strips, and in the ways that I could you know, make that work. But I also did poetry back at this time, which, I don't know, did this lead to my interest in the rap game in the current day? I don't know, could be, could maybe not be. But I actually, now in my lifetime, I had been in my local hometown newspaper, I think, like 5 times. And I'd been on the front page before a couple times. But I remember at this time when I was younger, I got featured in the newspaper with photograph and all for my poetry reading at some sort of, what do they call it, Arts Alive? I don't know if that even exists anymore, but this was, you know, a long time ago. So there was that, and, you know, so that was sort of the ground frame, you know, in my younger years for being interested in some of this artistic expression. And so I got a little bit older, and let's say, you know, probably my late elementary, early junior high years, you know, I was never a very good student at all. I never liked to take notes or anything like that. So what I would do is, I would go in the beginning of the school year. I would go and I would, you know, accumulate whatever, you know, I'd go get my 15-cent notebooks or whatever like that. And I was supposed to have these notebooks for each class I was taking. You know, you have like the math notebook for math notes or math homework if we had to, like, you know, write out the answers on our own paper and turn it in, that sort of thing. Science, you know, but the thing is, I would usually get, you know, there'd usually be a class that would fall out and be like, you know, this class really has a lot less notes needed. This class has a lot less of, you know, having to write down, compared to, like, math was usually one that took, like, the whole notebook. But, so I'd find kind of maybe that one class, like social studies or some shit like that, that didn't really need that notebook, and I would start doing these comic strips where I would take, like, the page, and sometimes I would just draw over the whole page too, but I really like to do these comic strips from a younger age. That was, like, one of my first things I did, where I would go, and it's basically just draw, you know, you take the book binder and, like, draw the straight lines down across, get your panels, and then I would, you know, rack the old brain and get my, stick figure protagonist. I'd rack the brain and say, what's this guy going to do today? You know, he was out fighting ninjas. He was out here just getting into all kinds of random shit or whatever it might be. Usually I would have some kind of, you know, I would try and base something, you know, in these comics around what was going on, you know, in my real life. And that occasionally got me into some trouble if people actually ever, like, bothered to see what I was looking at and read my chicken shit scribble. My chicken scratch, rather, scribble. And, you know, it might be like me, like, you know, punching my teacher in the face, or it might be me, like, shooting somebody, or whatever the case, but, you know, it's a goddamn stick figure with a fucking, you know, basically, it looks like the letter L, you know, holding, like, the stick, and, like, a fucking letter L right here, and a fucking, you know, you'd have, like, you know, the muzzle flash, you'd have, like, the little spiky outline, and then, like, the little spiky inside, and you, like, the inside you'd, like, shade a little bit darker, and then the outside you just, like, shade lightly to really give that muzzle flash effect, and just be like, and then you have, like, people's heads, like, you know, you, like, draw, like, the circle, you'd, like, you know, have, like, the jagged inside, and then, like, the, you know, you'd be, like, scribbling, their fucking heads exploding and shit like that. you know, I would feel, I mean, it was pretty much just kind of like the same premise of just like total ultra-violent nonsense repeatedly over and over again. But then I would do certain things where I would kind of try my hand at drawing, you know, actual things. And the thing is, I was never, and I'm still not, I've never been a good artist. I've never been a good drawer of anything. You know, and this goes back to even when I was younger, because just really, really poor motor skills, really. Like, I remember another instance of when I was younger, there was this coloring contest for the local credit union or bank or whatever it was. And it was pretty simple. I mean, you know, it wasn't anything spectacular. You basically just colored in something. You know, you turned it in when your parents went to go deposit their check or whatever, and you got a candy bar or whatever the hell it was. And, like, the only thing was that you were supposed to, like, draw inside the lines. You know, it was like, you can color this however you want, but you were supposed to draw inside the lines. And I can just remember, like, I was totally incapable of doing this. I was just, like, going, like, all over the, you know, I'm, like, up, trying to fucking go across the border, and I'm like, oh, God, oh, fuck, oh, shit, oh, you know, well, fuck, I can't control it, whoa, and it's going all over the place, and the shit's, you know, it's going off the goddamn paper, it's drawn all over the desk, or the table, or whatever it was. It was horrible, and it was like, it wasn't even good enough to be accepted for this, like, children's contest. It just looked like shit. That's just how bad it was. And it hurt. So I was never very good at drawing anything, but I would still amuse myself from time to time, just, you know, scribbling, you know, whatever random grotesque, you know, interpretations of whatever I wanted to draw, whatever I was attempting to draw, that ended up looking horrible. I would still draw it anyway, and I would look, you know, be flipping through my notebook from time to time and be like, hee hee hee, you know, oh, I remember that, it's funny, ha ha ha, you know, just laughing to myself like a fucking autistic retard. But then, you know, as we're talking about the middle school, junior high years, you know, in that same time frame, that was when I started to become acquainted, you know, and if you've been following me for however long, then you know about this. Became acquainted with more to do with animation, Flash animation, as a matter of fact. You know, I've been a user of the website Newgrounds.com since May of 2000, when my first account, Shitass, was created in that month of that year. But, you know, in moving on towards my junior high years, you know, I had created, there was some account I had that ended up getting, it's been long banned now, I don't remember when that was. That one was in 2002. But, you know, I was more well known by a name that still has a few traces out there, like on my Steam and shit, which was Got Flash. And so I went out there with that, and I began to dabble a little bit. I got my, you know, my pirated copy of Macromedia Flash or whatever it was, and I started getting into it a little bit. You know, I started dabbling a little bit in that. And the thing is, at first, you know, when I first got into it, it was actually from a guy who I went to school with who kind of introduced me to the whole concept. And I didn't even realize at first that you could animate in the actual Flash program. What we used to do is we would actually do frames in Microsoft Paint, and we would take these frames and animate the frames. You know, we'd have it in Microsoft Paint and then save the Microsoft Paint image and animate these frames from these Microsoft Paint stills. And I remember doing whole entire cartoons like this, one that I can hardly even remember what the hell the concept was or the premise was at this time. It was something to do with a cop and eating a donut or something. But I just remember going and, you know, having the, you know, just the whole image and everything like that. And I can't remember if we ever did audio. You know, a big thing at that time was the Microsoft Sam audio. I believe I'm remembering that correctly. You know, because there was the whole slew at the time. You know, maybe this was a little bit later, but it was roughly around this time where they would have like these cartoons uploaded, where it would be like, you know, cartoon XXX, the never before told story, or the, you know, the raw story or whatever, and it would just have a still out of the cartoon, and it would be like, you know, hello, I am, you know, there was one guy I knew, Drew Pickles, and I think these are still even on YouTube after all these years, but it was like, this is like the one that was really prominent. The guy would be like, "Hello, I am Drew Pickles. My penis is 1 billion miles long." And whatever else, you know, shit like that. So, like, it was something, I think we might have used, like, the Microsoft Sam voice to narrate some of these at the time. I'm trying to remember just how we even did that, though. It's been so many years, I don't remember, like, how that all even came together at the time. But, you know, so I started to kind of dabble into that at this time. And I was doing, you know, some really awful, terrible, you know, this is pretty much how my shit's always been, you know. I guess I'm really the poster child of sorts in a way for like this, you know, like the modern art or lack thereof. Even though I consider myself to be terrible and having no art skill, which is very true. But you know, even so, I would go in and just, you know, basically give my interpretation in the best way that I could. You know, however I felt like, you know, trying to draw shit. I mean, I had a very, very minor, somewhat grasp on, you know, drawing human anatomy and things like that. And I mean, I guess at this point, you know, I'm like, I kind of have sort of a familiarity with tracing in a way, so it's like, you know, I wasn't going out and tracing like anime pictures or that kind of shit, but I would just like go and, you know, see some guy, or I'd pull up an image of like, you know, some like bodybuilder or whatever it was I was trying to get like a draw, you know, trying to get a grasp on like a body shape or a body type to try and, you know, figure out what the hell I'm trying to draw. And then also I remember, I think probably about this time I was, you know, if I had stayed this path, I could probably be working for some big animation studio these days, because at the time I was fucking, you know, copying Family Guy actually in The Simpsons. I had these Family Guy and Simpsons DVD of like the first few seasons of each show, and I remember like I was really sick for like 1 month one time, and I just sat there and I fucking learned how to basically copy some of their art styles to try and, you know, draw really lazy faces or arms and, you know, various cartoon concepts. And actually, I think I'm going to be jumping ahead a little bit here, but I'm going to go pick this up over here right quick, because I have actually a folder over here that I drew on back in high school, and it's still been sitting. I saw it sitting around, and it probably gives a pretty good, I don't know how visible it's going to be. I guess it'll kind of give you an idea of my artistic abilities or lack thereof. Yeah, here we go, like, you can probably kind of see some of this, I don't know what the fuck retarded ass autistic shit I was doing here. Get the camera on. Like, I have this fucking zombie, you can like see some of this like fucking Family Guy rip-off shit. I don't know what the fuck kind of shit I was thinking. And this is going back to my fucking World of Warcraft days. Free Joe Grizzly, got some fucking zombie there. This is like a fucking meme face. Super shit at Eastwood, Chrome ZX, fucking shitting Newberg asshole. Trying to say Necdum fell off with Ryman. He rather hisk with Newberg asshole fucker ass. As you can see, here was my as my name there, Millswood Creative Writing, #1. And then, I don't know, this is some fucking giant ass, like, Freddy Krueger hand that says, what the fuck's they even say? Idiots on it. And then some shit up here. God, LOL. Disorienting God Beam, which causes 9/11. I love how mad it makes you that we did this. Ether, Pawn Noobs All Day, Best Shaman, S-Key, No Mouse, EU Cyclone, Season 3, Glad. No problem, too easy. Oh, it takes me back. I don't know. Oh, what the fuck is this? Somebody's phone number? Oh, I'm gonna cover that up. I don't know if that shit's probably isn't even active anymore, but, you know, lol, you mad, fucking meme shit. I'm trying to make a grip from serving my rocks, yo. I wanted that meatball, PLZ, and like a million PLZs. I don't know what the fuck all this shit is. Planet Swede. So this is kind of just like the sort of, you know, fucking sporadic gibberish, you know, I was drawing. That's for my senior year in high school. But that's pretty much, you know, I never took any art classes. It's actually funny, you know, the one class that I ever actually legitimately failed in high school was art class, because I just was that bad at it, and also I had a bunch of shit that like it was like considered incomplete, or it was like it wasn't good enough. Like, you know, we would have to like draw a rendition of something, or we'd have to make a, you know, draw this with this principle or whatever, like this art's whatever, this rule of art, draw this thing, and I would like draw. You know, I'd be like, actually, I'd be like drawing and be like, no, you're prohibiting my expression. You're not giving me my full artistic expression. I can't get down like this. I need to be able to express myself. And so that was actually the only class my freshman year of high school, my art class. Only one I ever actually failed. Skirted by on some D's on some other shit. But I think I was the only one that ever came through with a full-on like 0. Or something, some really ridiculously low-ass mark. But now, let's see, in recent years, you know, really I never did much with anything arts-wise at all. You know, God, I can't remember. You know, last couple years, obviously, I've been doing more like the rap shit, music stuff. You know, well, I should say the rap, and then before that, I was doing R&B and country music. You know, since probably like maybe 2011, 2012. So, you know, I basically had that, and then I kind of started going more in like a musical direction. At that time, and I'm still kind of, so that's kind of what I'm on now. But last year, actually, I kind of had a little bit of a renaissance, and if any of you guys had me on Snapchat at the time, you know, maybe you're aware. But anyways, last year, you know, I'd gotten out of the hospital, so it was just about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, and I'd gotten out of the hospital, and of course, you know, my life was pretty much, you know, I was up shit creek with no paddle, and I eventually got some unemployment and some benefits from the state, you know, for a little bit before I got back to work. But at the time I didn't, and I had, you know, medical bills and shit to pay, so I thought to myself, you know, I need to get on my hustle, I need to get in my hustle mode, I'm going to figure some shit out. So what I did was, I had done a little bit of yard work and some chores for some people, and gotten a little bit of money. I mean, I was paying for gas and whatever else too, you know, kind of trying to keep on top of some of my bills in the meantime. What I did, I had this idea to get my hustle on. I went down to the dollar store, and I picked up a set of 2 pens and some drawing paper, which was like this. I think this is how my life has been, and I'm pretty sure I still see it just sitting over there, because it's pretty much this whole corner over here that's out of frame that you can't see has just been relatively untouched for pretty much the last year now. Anyway, so I went and picked up these pens and this drawing paper and what else? You know, mailers. I got mailers. So anyways, I came back and I was on Snapchat and I was like, yo, dudes, alright. I mean, I had a GoFundMe or something, I think, too, where, shout out to the people. I think I raised a couple $100 off that. So shout out to those people, because that helped me pay my medical bill. But, you know, I'm trying to get my hustle on back then. So I start drawing shit. I'm like, you know, message me on Snapchat. I'll draw your portrait. You know, PayPal me like $10, and I'm gonna fucking draw your portrait, and I will mail it to you. Now, I didn't realize at the time was when you're mailing a mailer with like a piece of drawing paper in it. It doesn't take just a stamp. That takes like actually to ship those. Actually, it cost me like $6 per one. So I mean, I came up a little bit ahead on the money, but you know, I didn't realize what it was costing to ship at the time. But anyway, so I'm doing portraits for people, and I think they're fucking, you know, they're obviously not very good. I mean, shout out to the people who still have their portraits that I sent them. You know, I mean, it's awesome that it all came together, and it was a really cool thing. You know, I never have done anything like that, but you know, obviously it wasn't professional, probably. So anyways, shit, one day I was sitting around, and I know that Sam Hyde, speaking of him, he's been watching these, so maybe, I don't know if he'll watch this one or not, but I was just sitting around on my ass, just laying in bed, you know, watching YouTube videos, and I was watching Boston Ross, and I sketched basically a picture of him. I paused it and I kind of just, you know, looked at it, and I sketched this drawing of him in Boston Ross, and I signed it and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm going to sell this. Some guy will probably want this on my Snapchat, because I have all these people, you know, that are familiar. So I actually emailed Sam, and I was like, yo, Sam, I'm going to sell a portrait that I drew of you, because I need to raise some money. And he was like, yeah, don't do that. You know, he's like, do something that's more related to you. He's like, he was like, he's like, you know, he's like, you can figure something out. Just don't, I would rather you not do that. And I'm like, okay. So I went ahead and immediately did that. Shout out to my dude who bought that, by the way. Because that was the only one I did, to be fair. But I had already done it, so I'm like, well, I already did it. So I ended up selling that to some guy for like 10, 15 bucks or whatever, mailed that off to him. But it was actually kind of wild because I was doing this. A lot of people got pissed off because I was like fucking advertising it on my Snapchat, and they were like, fuck you, you normal fag piece of shit. I don't want to see your goddamn drawing ads on Snapchat, you piece of shit. Fuck you. But I was doing it anyway, and I actually ended up making like probably a couple $100s off it all in total. And like the galaxy brain that I am, with so many folds in my brain matter, so very non-smooth and very, very intelligent, I went and I said, you know what? I want to be smart about this. I'm not going to spend this on any video games. I'm not going to do anything like that. Maybe I have something here. Maybe this is something that I could really, you know, do. Maybe I could just be an artist. And so I went to the store, and I went and I got all kinds. I spent like $100 actually on fucking like special drawing pencils that were fucking like $50. And I bought an electric pencil sharpener, and I bought like this, I don't even know what the hell you'd even call it, some kind of really fancy special, extra special drawing paper. And I think I proceeded to draw like one single more painting or one drawing ever, because much like everything else I do, when it starts off, like how EggWars is right now, when it starts off where there's like really no there's no sort of bar set, there's no line set, like, you know, it was just totally open and, you know, just whatever, no standard of quality, just basically just go into it and do whatever I wanted to do, then it was okay. But whenever it starts to get to where, like, okay, now we up the standard, or we up the whatever, and it needs to reach a new level, a new whatever, then I always have this tendency to just give up, choke, I don't know, maybe, I mean, I've quit, obviously I've had my breaks of doing music, so I mean, maybe you could kind of compare it to that in a way, perhaps, like, I've kind of, you know, I've been really crappy, and then not done it for a little while, improved a little bit, came back, still, you know, got a little better, da-da-da-da-da, as time goes on, maybe. That's the way I like to feel about that anyway, but with this, you know, the art is just one particular instance that kind of sticks out to me. But that's just to do with drawing, I guess. I mean, I can still write somewhat, although it's still, with me, it's like, I can do creative writing. It's not like I can write an article about something very well. And this is just the problem that I have, I guess. I'm not sure what you would call it, that, you know, if I'm totally, like, uninhibited and totally just whatever, I can go ahead and do a certain thing and do what I want to do. But if there's ever kind of like an expectation of quality, or an expectation of, you know, oh, well, I want to do, you know, it needs to be a certain this or that, it's all, I don't know how you, or what would I even say, you know, how would I even describe that? It's like, it totally just knocks my feet off from under me, and then just totally, like, you know, as soon as there's any expectation of, you know, below the total minimum, total, you know, ground floor levels of effort, I just, like, totally fucking collapse and fall through and just never look back at it again. Oh, Christ, I don't know. I think it's called being a loser. But before the video's over, you know, for those who are not aware, I guess I'll probably show you guys a couple of these shirts that I've made up here. Once again, I could have had this shit out before I started recording, but I didn't do that because, you know, I don't fucking ever do anything intelligent in my life. So we got the patch in here. God, there's so many stacked up all on top of each other here. My apologies, Goyim, for shit. God, there's just so many. We'll just, there we go. Let's examine some of my favorite shirts, some of my hand-picked, sorry if I didn't pick your shirt, if I've made you a shirt, but just some of my favorite hand-picked items, you know, of shirts that I've made over the last year. Here we got the pad shirt with double scoop drumpy. I rather liked that piece. What else do we have here? This is the Neon Joe. This is when I was trying to, when I started figuring out that I was sweating and fucking sweating all the different colors together. I mean, that's pretty radical. But it was originally all black, but I just fucking sweat all over it and made it turn different colors. Back at that time, you know, it's hard to believe that shit was like 4 or 5 months ago now already. Christ. Now, this is one of the more recent ones I made. You know, this was just probably in the last couple months here. This actually might be the last shirt that I made. TBH. J.C. Denton, my man, with his monked shirt, the MAGA hat, chipmunk body, hashtag monked. I think that might have been the last shirt I made in recent times. TBH. This was also one of the more recent ones I made. Ace of Spades shirt. Camera backlight's going off on me. Ace of Spades shirt with Mexican Hugh Neutron. Hola Jimbo. That's some good science. So this is pretty much my most recent foray into art. You know, this is from humble beginnings of giant lamprey monsters. And we have the real Dude Zor shirt with the misshapen gun and the fucking Picasso face Pepe. So from humble beginnings of, you know, stick figures shooting each other in the face, all kinds of disgusting, monstrous lamprey creatures eating the earth, you know, up to terrible, shitty, awful Flash animations for some years, to then random sketches of sorts in high school and that, to random sketches last year that was kind of short-lived, to drawing on goddamn blank t-shirts in the last year. You know, I've always had some sort of affinity for the arts. Unfortunately, I've just never had any sort of skill, nor have I ever had any commitment to developing skill. But that pretty much also goes for just about every goddamn sphere of my entire life, pretty much. That's why I failed out of school and college and everything else that I've done. But hey, you know what? Despite my repeated failures at every goddamn thing in life, you know what? I'm still here, and I'm doing Egg Wars. I'm doing Egg Wars on a daily basis, or damn near, and I'm trying to do better about it, so that maybe I will eventually actually put some editing and things into this video, these videos. Maybe I'll even concoct a little bit of an intro eventually or something. But let me think. Is there anything in this last minute or so that I want to talk about? God, I just don't even know. Somebody told me on one of these other videos, they said something about a hobo stories. I know I talked about some of those hobo stories in the Joe trilogy, but I mean, there wasn't a ton. There's a couple of things that have happened in the past, but I don't know if it would really even constitute another video. But if you have any particular topics or anything of the sort that you think would be interesting, or just whatever, you know, just let me know, because I don't always have one on hand. This one was kind of spur of the moment again to think about, but you know, I guess hey, maybe the music will keep going good, maybe the writing will keep going good, maybe I could keep writing songs or whatever and pursue art in that direction and be somebody or something eventually in my life. But if not, oh well, we're gonna keep going, keep doing what we do day to day, and trying to make our dreams come true, my people. So anyways, thank you all very much for tuning in to another episode of Egg Wars, and I'll see you next time. It's gonna be double digits. Alright, peace out.